Hello, welcome to Edinburgh Retro PC podcast number 4. Tonight we've got an extra special treat. We've got 4 of us here tonight. We have got George.
Hello.
How you doing, mate?
Good.
Good stuff. We've got Dave.
Hello.
You all right, Dave?
Yep, doing great, thanks.
Good. And we've got Ian.
Hi there.
Hello, Ian. You all right?
Yeah, doing fine, thank you.
Good stuff. What you've been up to this weekend? Any retro gaming at all?
Well, I've been doing all sorts. I've been doing mods to my Atari 7800 and playing my arcade cab and all sorts of stuff. So busy weekend for me.
So was that quite a difficult mod job then?
It wasn't too bad. It was a little kit that I got from eBay. Tiny wee thing about the size of 50 pence piece.
Right.
Good instructions on how to fit the bit of kit. You basically had to desolder the RF modulator in the Atari and 4 resistors. So that was the hardest bit, with kind of desoldering all that stuff. But once that was done, it was pretty easy.
Yeah, and that obviously makes a big, massive difference. I know George done the same thing for my Spectrum, and it makes a massive difference, eh?
Well, I mean, it was unplayable, to be honest, through the RF unit. The top of it was all fuzzy, and you just couldn't tune it in. It was just terrible.
Yeah.
So putting in the composite mods, it's night and day. And the Atari 2600 games look great as well. So
Brilliant.
happy.
Oh,
days.
now you've got the practice, eh? I mean, how much did it cost for the kit, Dave, if you don't mind me asking?
I think it was $20, 20 quid delivered. The guy's
Right.
actually from Turkey, and he makes the board himself. He does them for Intellivisions and all sorts of stuff as well.
Right.
So it was about $20 delivered, and just came in a small envelope. And like I said, it's a tiny little board. It's all built. So all you have to do is put in the cables, put the cables in the right bit, and solder them in. It's all labelled and everything for you. So it's a really easy mode once you pluck up the courage to rip your old Atari apart.
Brilliant. What about yourself, Ian? You been up to anything games-wise?
I've been playing a bit of Commodore 64 stuff. I got a new Commodore 64 bread bin last week, to replace my C64C. So I've been rediscovering some classic Commodore 64 games.
Nice.
I've been playing things like Jumpman Junior. You've ever played them before?
I've never played those. No. Is it like Jetpack or anything like that?
No, it's a platform kind of running, jumping type game. It's one of these things that was on the C64 DTV, the plug and play.
Oh yeah.
Joystick things, and I never actually owned a Commodore 64 up until that point. And it was those games that made me want to get a real, actual Commodore.
All right.
So I've also been firing up some old games that I used to play on the Commodore C16.
Good Lord.
A friend of mine used to have a Commodore 16, and we used to play Icicle Works, which is a kind of Repton kind of thing, where you're kind of digging and you're trying to avoid falling blocks, and it's actually snowballs in this game. And I found that there was a Commodore 64 version of that, so I've been playing a bit of that as well.
Right. Good stuff. What about yourself, George? When you're not selling motorbikes?
I've been creating havoc on the Sinclair QL forum over the last couple of days. Basically, what's happened is, obviously I bought that SD card for the QL, and it's been delivered. A guy, I think in Germany's Torven, I think his name is. He's obviously manufactured it. He's promoted it, and he delivered it to me, and I've set it up working. But for the life of me, I couldn't get it to create subdirectories. So basically, what I want to do is really simple: create a subdirectory called games, put all my QL games in it, and then I can then write my own front end to load the games in. But for the life of me, I couldn't get it to create subdirectories, so I posted on the forum. The forum title was Sinclair QLSD headache. And within a matter of like 3 hours, the guy who wrote and designed it, he got onto the forum explaining that, apologised that there was stuff missing from the SD card, important files.
Right.
So once he emailed that through to me, I've got the thing working all right now, so I'm quite chuffed. So I've been busy programming a super basic front end so that you can just press either 1 to 9 and load a game in from the SD card.
No, brilliant.
So I've been doing that the last couple of nights. So no game playing as such,
No.
unfortunately, apart from playing Death Strike on Sinclair QL. If you've ever heard of that game.
Excellent. No, I've not been playing. I've not been playing. I've not had any main gaming sessions the last couple of weeks, other than my mashup thing for YouTube. Just not a chance. Been busy with other things. But actually, just when you're talking there, Ian, and obviously yourself, George, has brought us on to a kind of an interesting point. You ever notice that all these kind of mods, all these modern mods, your SD adapters, all these kind of different bits of hardware, they never seem to originate in the UK. It seems to be kind of like our Polish and our Turkey sort of friends that do all these things. Do you think, is there a reason, do you think, why these things seem to emanate from out with the UK, do you think?
There's not much else to do in those countries, is there?
Apart from sunbathing.
It's okay. No one's going to hear this, yeah?
You do know
Yeah,
that you've just alienated half of Europe with that comment, but never mind.
The
They're
problem is
not listening. It's fine.
they don't have Big Brother and EastEnders. That's the problem.
That's not a bad thing.
I don't know if it's just a case that they've got more people that are interested in it, or there's a lot more people in electronics who see this as a gap in the market where they can sell these products. I don't know. It's a hard one to kind of drill down, isn't it? So when you bought your adapter, Ian, for your Commodore 64, was that bought in the UK or was it abroad?
Yeah,
Right.
that was actually from a guy in the UK. Yeah.
Right.
Did he buy it, or so did he make them, or did he just sort of import them?
I think it's kind of an open source design, and I think he just makes one kind of flavor of the device. I've got a funny feeling it might have originated in Germany.
Yeah.
What about you, George? Is the QL? Does some of that stuff originate in this country?
That's actually it's the other way about. It's a chap called Peter who designed the device, and basically he hasn't got near the time or the money to invest anywhere in the project. So he passed it over to a guy in Germany who, two of them who have been obviously originally the first one that they made sold for 160 quid on Sell My Retro. And then after that, they made a batch of 3, and I managed to get one of them, so for 60 quid. But I think it's just a case that it's money and time, isn't it, really?
And has the QL got much of a following outside this country?
I think it has. I mean, I think a lot of people that had QLs when they first were launched, there was a lot of kind of... When the QL was launched, people at our age were buying them, Ian.
Yeah.
So 30s, 40s were buying them. Now these guys, QL's now 30 years old. So these guys are now in their 60s. So I'd say there is a limited amount of people that have them. They're not as common as a Spectrum and a Commodore, unfortunately.
No.
Yeah.
I think there's a definite gap in the market for you technical wizards with your soldering irons and the like. I'm looking at you, Dave.
I wish.
Hey, listen, guys, that was a kind of an interesting one that came up just with talking. The first thing I would like to kind of talk about, apart from our own computer club, is computer clubs back in the day. Did any of you guys go to computer clubs back in the 80s at all?
Yeah, I think the first one I went to now, I was living in the Borders at the time, and one of the local papers mentioned this games club. I thought, fantastic, great. There's people round about my area that loves gaming, computer gaming. I think I had a Spectrum at the time, so I went along to it. Me and a couple of mates went along with it, and it was upstairs above a pub. We walked upstairs, and these guys playing the role-playing adventure games.
So you turned and walked back out?
Aye, we did that straight away. I says, is this a computer club? No, role-playing. Right, okay, bye. So that was disappointed. But no computer clubs.
You never went to any computer clubs at all? Oh, right.
No, none doing where I was living at the time, unfortunately.
What about through in the West, Dave? Was there anything through your way?
No, nothing much. There was an Amiga user club that I went to in later life, but when I was at school, there may have been, but I mean, at the time I was just interested in getting as far away from school as I possibly could. I just used to go and play on my mates' computers. We had quite a sort of social network.
Yeah.
Of friends. I had an Amstrad, a couple of mates had Commodores, other guys had Spectrums, one had an MSX. So, we had the kind of would pop round to someone's house, and four of us would all cram on their bed. And
all your bases covered, in other words.
yeah. So
what about yourself, Ian? Did you go to anything at all?
Yeah, pretty much the same kind of experience. There wasn't any kind of organised computer clubs at school, but there was, like what Dave was saying, it's more of a social activity amongst you and your friends, and we would all pile around at someone's house with a joystick and a big stack of C90 blank tapes. One person would be sitting playing the game, one person would be sitting copying it.
That's actually quite interesting to hear that. I mean, I did go to a computer club. I'm trying to think when it'd be when just after I got my Commodore 64, so you're probably talking about 1984. It was at a high school, there's a new high school built, and it was on a Wednesday night. And basically, just I mean, it was quite funny because on odd occasion, I mean, you basically had to take all your own stuff. It was basically like our retro club, but back then you didn't have you were 17, you didn't have a car or anything, so you actually had to carry your telly and your computer. And we used to take like suitcases, and you had like a 2-mile walk to this computer club. If you're lucky, your dad would give you a lift, but you were in the main, you had to kind of walk up and down and run the risk of getting jumped and getting your computer nicked. But basically, it was in this high school. It was actually in the science department. And for all intents and purposes, it was just an excuse to pirate games. I mean, the majority of the people there owned Spectrums who we never really spoke to, and then there was elite people who had the Commodore 64s. There was nobody with BBCs. Then you had there was one or two guys.
They were in the role playing club.
And then you had one or two guys that had Atari that everybody used to kind of laugh at, until he pointed out that stealth on the Atari was actually way better than the Commodore, which it was, but you never ever admitted to that. But basically, yeah, it was just you turned up and there was one or two people who would actually be playing games, but in the main it was just like 2 cassette tapes recording, copying games the whole time, No, it was always a blind eye. I mean, the guy that actually, it was like a janitor person who was in charge, but he just turned a complete blind eye to what was obviously going on. But the
closest my school had to something like that was they had a kind of lending library for Spectrum and Commodore and Amstrad games.
Oh, cool! That's good. That's fantastic.
And you could roll up with your library card, and you could hire out games for a few days.
Yeah, and see when they did that, did they say, "Right, son, remember we don't want you pirating these"?
Don't copy that tape. No, nothing like that. No.
So you'd walk out the door with your double tape deck under your arm.
A big ghetto blaster, yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. Right, the next one, I'm just completely random questions here that I've written down. Next one, Dave, CRT versus LCD for retro games. What do you think?
Oh, my word, it's a big question.
Yeah.
Purists will obviously want CRTs. But I myself have got 2 CRT TVs for my retro stuff. I've got a bit of space in my room, which I'm quite lucky. A lot of guys don't have the space, so LCDs are the only way. But
that's right.
Stuff, the CRTs were quite forgiving, and because of the makeup of them and the scan lines and stuff, it actually smooths out the picture a little bit and fuzzies it up and makes it look nice. Whereas if you CD and you can see every pixel, it's a little bit scary. So I mean, I was actually amazed at how nice things like the PlayStation 2 and all that kind of stuff look on a CRT. You forget if you've been playing them on an LCD and you go back and play on a CRT how nice they actually look.
Yeah.
But LCDs are great, and obviously they're replaceable and all that kind of stuff. But for me, it would need to be CRTs. I would say that I've got an LCD monitor in my arcade cabinet, but that's that's another story.
Yeah, it's funny. Some systems that look all right on LCDs, and other ones, like I know the N64 just looks atrocious on an LCD for some reason.
Yeah,
I think because it depended on the kind of blurriness, whatever it was called back then.
It softened it up and hid the jaggies. If you can see the jaggy lines, it just kind of ruins it a little bit.
Aye, I actually find when I'm playing my Atari 800 or Commodore 64 in the LCD. I mean, I've got I've actually got 2 LCDs in my little games room. I find that I don't know if it's like doesn't update as quick, but like scrolling games, like if you play something like Drop Zone, it doesn't scroll as super smooth as it does if you're playing it on a CRT.
Right.
Is there a technical reason for that? Is it the scan refresh rate or something? Or
Maybe the refresh rate. It just depends on the telly because they'll be throwing up the resolution and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I mean, I've not had any trouble with the CRTs. Obviously, the LCDs have been fine, even in my arcade cabinet. It's been all right.
I suppose really the best kind of the best option to be would be one of these big 32-inch TVs, the one that you gave away a couple of years ago at the club, because it's obviously it's a CRT, but it's got the SCART, because obviously the old CRTs, this had the wee not composite, but we call RF thing, which was pretty crap. Yeah. What about yourself, George? What do you think yourself?
I mean, I've got two of the Commodore monitors. I think they're the best CRT monitor you can get on the planet, and I've got two of the BBC Cub monitors, BBC Micro Cub monitors. One of them died last night. Now I've found out, I did a bit of research, and believe it or not, the company who makes the Cub monitors, the company is still on the go, MicroVTech.
My God.
So I emailed them, Dave, and says, look, do you still repair these things? Yes, we still repair them.
My God.
And they said to me, it'll cost 70 quid to repair it plus 15 quid for postage and packaging.
I thought it would have been that, to be honest. But
so I'm swithering whether, because I love the Cub monitors. I think there's a guy on YouTube, and he's just made an arcade cabinet using it's either a Cub monitor or a Commodore monitor. I just think they look better. I think they're worth keeping a hold of. You pick them up cheap, and I think it's worth getting repaired. And I just think it's the contrast for me that matters. As you said, it does help with the graphics, but I just think the contrast ratio between the colours and like an Amiga or an Atari just looks fantastic.
I've got a Tech 4S monitor, the Commodore monitor, and I've got a CD32 through it, and it looks beautiful. The blacks are black, and it's crisp, and it's really nice. But I wish I'd known you about 5 years ago. Actually, my dad used to be a janitor at Forester High School in Edinburgh. Yep. And the school and the adjacent school, St Augustine's, got knocked down. They shut down, and when they were shutting the place down, they found a cupboard full of, there must have been about 25 BBC Masters.
Oh, nightmare!
And Cub monitors and printers and all sorts of stuff. And I rescued about 6 of them and gave them away to various pals. But the rest of them got skipped. I could have saved them all.
There's somebody on eBay was selling for a while an adapter for the Cub monitor. And it's basically a DIN plug on one end that goes in the back of the Cub monitor. Another end you had almost like a SCART connection, so you can connect anything via SCART to the Cub monitor. So Atari, 64, anything that you could connect up via SCART, you could connect up to this Cub monitor.
You'll not get sound though, George, through it.
No, that's the only annoying thing. That's the kind of bonus with the Commodore monitors, is you got the sound on the Commodore monitor is actually really, really loud. As you know from me bringing my 64 along playing music.
But the subwoofer you've got connected to it, though. Brilliant. Right, the next one, chaps. Favourite joystick.
Hold on,
sorry.
I've not asked Ian what he thinks
right,
about.
sorry, Ian.
That's okay.
That's okay. I'm not going to. Yeah, just feel free to chip in. Have you got anything to?
Edit that bit out. You'll be all right.
When I first joined the club, obviously I was looking to get something portable, the TV to bring along, and I actually invested in a flat screen, kind of 21 or 22-inch screen, and I've hardly ever used it because everything looks completely hopeless on it.
Yep.
I've tried plugging in computers, consoles. I've been through several AV cables for Super Nintendos, and none of them make the picture look anywhere near as nice as what it looks on an old CRT TV. Yep. Either you get it's really kind of fuzzy because the old the SNES and the Mega Drive are outputting something like 240p.
Yep.
And it just looks terrible. Or you get the kind of checkerboard effect where there's like those little squares or lines going down the screen as well, and it's just completely hopeless. So
it looks a lot of times you muck about with it, and it just look a bit washed out.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
I mean, there is things you can buy. I had a look at there's RGB upscalers that you can get,
right.
But they're hideously expensive. If you're talking hundreds, so they're not even worth looking at.
Buying a portable telly.
Aye,
Or just get one off
aye.
Free Cycle, you know.
Aye.
Yep.
It's funny how things go that full circle because I mean we obviously had like CRT TVs and then flat screen TVs. And we've got LCD and plasma. Now we're harking back. We want a shit quality, and so you can actually now buy cards that actually put like scan lines over it to make it look shit. Absolutely.
I've got a pair of glasses with scan lines on it just to give that right effect.
Like my old eyes have scan lines on them as well.
I burn into your retinas.
Just funny, just a little anecdote with Dave talking about all the Cub monitors. Has there ever been something that, looking back before you got into sort of collecting video games, you were in a situation where you saw something and you think, Christ, I wish I could go back then and take it or whatever? I mean, I'll go first to kind of explain what I'm talking about. It must have been about, I don't know, 1987, I think it was. It was in the summer, and we were going to go. There was me and a bunch of mates. We were going to go to where were we going? Going to Burnt Island for the day. And it was a roasting hot day, and as we're driving, I think it was like a Mark II Cortina or something. Not Cortina, Escort. We're driving to Burnt Island, and we actually saw a Galaxian arcade cab just discarded at the side of the road. And he's like, "Oh, look at that!" But back then, if somebody said to you, "Do you want it?" You go, "No," because I've got my Commodore 64. You know what I mean? That was shit. But if you go back then and put it in the back of your car, you'd have taken it.
My God.
I don't know if you have any have actually seen. There was a picture. It was on doing the rounds on the internet, and I think it was obviously stemmed from America, and it was all these classic cabs. It was just flung in a big kind of landfill,
just in a pile.
Aye, about to get crushed, whatever.
Make you weep.
Oh, we would indeed. So is there anything like that at all? Anything you've ever thought, Christ, I wish I could go back and get that, or is it only me?
No any freebies that I've seen, but I do remember being in Dixon's in the Gyle way back, 10, 15 years ago, something like that, more than that. And they were selling the Amstrad GX 4000 console. The console was £10, brand new box.
Jeez.
£2 each, and they had pretty much every game going because they'd obviously bought loads of them in, and it was a complete flop. But if I'd bought their stock for, I don't know, £100, I could have probably sell it for thousands on eBay. But,
I know.
But
that's the thing. Yeah, I think that's the thing. I mean, it's easy. In hindsight now, in the 2014, you think, oh, why did I give away my Commodore 64? Oh, I gave away all. I mean, I had a whole collection of Zap magazines, and I just flung them in the bucket. And it's easy to say, Christ, why did I do that? But, back in 1986, I wasn't interested in the Commodore 64. I was wanting an Amiga. So, it's like now. I mean, you get yourself an iPhone 5S, whatever it is you've got, and you say to someone, "Oh, I've got an iPhone 4. Do you want it?" Nah, and it goes into a drawer. Whereas probably in 20 years' time, you'll be craving to have an iPhone 4. It's easy to kind of, in retrospect, to look back and go, "Oh, I wish I still had that." But back at that snapshot in time, you weren't interested in these things,
It's just not knowing what's going to be collectible in the future. That's the problem.
I mean, I think.
Well, I would have kept Mark II Cortina.
As it happened. I actually know a guy. I know a guy, or a mate who knows a guy. I mean, he's a sad person, but he's apparently got every single McDonald's toy since in the last 15 years. They be things you get your Happy Meals. And I'm quite sure they'll probably be worth something. He doesn't open them.
I saw many moons ago when I first started working and found the gateway drug of eBay. There was a guy selling a paper cup from a KFC meal. It was an American import, and it was it was printed with it was just a white cup, a drinks cup, a large drinks cup, and it was white. It was printed with blue and red, and it was Return of the Jedi, and the lid thing on top of it had a little Millennium Falcon on it, and it sold for $150. Paper cup for KFC.
Good.
Didn't have drink in it, no?
No,
Empty, an empty cup.
Was it a skinny latte?
Skinny latte. Pepsi Diet on tab. Unused, but
Really
it's crazy, isn't it?
That's the thing. I mean, you could literally get in a situation where you think. I mean, I'll be honest with you. When I for a while there, when I was buying anything, the first thing I was doing was I was putting the box into the loft. Whereas before, I used to fling the box in the bucket, and I
Right.
would put the box in the loft thinking so I can sell it on eBay, because you get more for it boxed. But about a year ago, or not a year ago, about 6 months ago, we had to hire a skip for some stuff, and I actually went into the loft. And I was flinging out all the boxes, I thought, well, I'm never ever actually going to sell them, you know what I mean? So why hang on to them? But yeah, some people are just so anal when it comes to, they'll buy a box, you know what I mean?
I just like the box when I'm buying a retro machine just for storage if it's in the attic.
Mm.
But just because if it's in the attic, it stops it getting dusty. But serious collectors like it because they want the resale value, I think.
Yeah.
Remember, there was a collection on eBay, or there was a story. I don't think it was actually for sale, but it was a guy who had he had bought a complete collection, or built a complete collection of PlayStation 2 games, and they were all sealed. Every single one of them was factory sealed.
Wow.
What's the point of that?
Absolutely.
It's a nice thing. Have you go, oh look, that's 12 years that took me and £65,000, but I'll never play any of them.
Yeah, it was a waste on that.
There is something really sad. I always think the same as when you see like somebody, some kid or somebody selling a kid's toy, it was never opened.
Still in the box.
A toy is for playing with. It's not for bloody putting into a cabinet to look at.
Aye.
I've seen exactly the same with these games.
I've seen people going into palpitations when I've bought a sealed game and I've opened it, or heaven forbid, cut the tab off the top of a Sega Mega Drive box.
That's the first thing I do.
There are people actually start eating their fingers with nerves when you start doing stuff. It's like, get a grip. I'm a collector, but I like to play the things, It's
Aye.
Well, just buy 2 copies then, one to play and one to keep.
That's when it gets expensive.
There's people that do that.
Yeah.
Aye.
Anyway, guys, moving on. The next one I was going to talk about, joystick. Back in the day, obviously joysticks aren't so common nowadays, but did you have a joystick, a particular favourite joystick?
Yeah, I've got one right in front of me, a Competition Pro. I think all the Competition Pros were micro switches, weren't they? The one with
I remember the Competition Pro. What did that look like?
Pros one.
Aye. I've got a Competition Pro here in front of me. It's one with the 2 red buttons on it.
Yeah.
And it looks like an arcade joystick. But I tend to when I buy them nowadays, the rubber inside gets really hard on them. So when you're trying to move a joystick, they're really stiff. So normally what I do is I strip them down and I normally cut the rubber down so it's a bit smaller so you can get a bit of movement in the controls on the micro switches on them. It just feels more like an arcade stick on them compared to, because I think they were all right when they were new, but now the rubber's bloody that hard on them. The stick hardly moves and it just feels shite. So that's I've got 2 of them. I've modified them, made it a wee bit easier, a wee bit nicer to play with.
Yeah.
Is that your stick of choice? And is it? Yeah.
Aye, Competition Pro. I love the joystick. Sure.
You'll be a selfie, and you got a favourite joystick line to waggle.
We were. Yeah, the best one for me was the one I've got right in front of me right now. It's the zip stick.
Oh my word!
And
is the zip stick quite similar to the Competition Pro?
Similar, it's exactly the same layout, but I found that my problem with the Competition Pro and the one I've got here as well is it's just too stiff. And it just gives you a sore hand after a while. But the zip stick is just that kind of nice looseness, and it's quite easy to move without any effort. And
you're waggling it there.
Yeah, did you like that?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I'll tell you another good joystick that I've got in front of me, and it's called a Delta 2000. So if you guys Google that and bring an image up, it's a nice joystick. It's more like an arcade feel on it. It's micro switch as well.
Chance, no.
No, it's black, red button on the handle, red button in the front. It's called a Delta 2000 model RD1A.
Nice.
But they're a nice joystick. Yep.
Did anyone ever like the ones that you hold with your full hand? Those like the
flight joysticks.
Yeah, those kind of things. Like massive grip. I just find they were really kind of imprecise.
Yep. I think the Sinclair Amstrad Sinclair brought them out, and were that kind of style. And then you had, what's the maker, Dave? The one that was like that with the big handle on it. There was a kind of one make that they were all like that.
I can't remember.
Quite common.
Is it quick shot or cutter?
Quick shot.
Quick shot, that's
Was
it.
it
Quick
quick
shot
shot?
2.
Yeah.
Quick shot 2,
Are
aye.
you talking about the quick shots? All right, I thought you were talking about something else. The quick shot 2 turbo was my joystick of choice, and
Right.
still is. Seeing as we're all wiggling our joysticks together. I love the
that was your stick of choice, then was it, Dave? The quick shot 2 turbo, you said, yeah.
Yeah, it was the red based one, just for stability.
Did you make any black bits at the side? Is it?
Aye.
Right. I think I've got a couple of them in the cupboard actually.
Aye, I like the sort of trigger fire button. You know, I like that kind of pistol grip style. So that was my joystick of choice.
I think it was. I mean, obviously back in the mid '80s when you first got your computer. I mean, you didn't have that much money, so your joystick. You've got one joystick, and that was, that had to last you. So I think a lot of the time it depends what joystick you bought. I mean, I got when I bought my Commodore 64, there was a, what do you call it? There was a computer shop in Livingston, and he used to import a lot. In fact, he was primarily an Atari dealer. And I don't know if you've heard of Wico. They were a really, really big, really sort of quality joystick maker from America. And there was a Wico Boss, and it had a huge, big sort of grey base, big, massive kind of stick, and it just had the one fire button, which is on the very top, which you use for your thumb. I mean, This thing, it was like playing an arcade game, an analog bloody stick. It had so much movement, but that's what I was used to. That's what I played. Virtually all my kind of Commodore 64 days was spent using this thing. Then when I eventually got rid of that, and then I kind of went on to like Kempson joysticks, this didn't feel the same at all. And I find that, that I'm good at pressing the fire button on the top, but there's very few joysticks that actually have a fire button on the top with your thumb.
Yeah.
What would you say, from experience, what would you say is the worst joystick you've ever used?
Amstrad JY1.
Right.
Is that the same as the Spectrum one that came with the Spectrum Plus 2, the grey one?
Yeah, that was.
The horrible joysticks.
Was that no the variant of the Amstrad joystick? It was.
That's right. Yeah.
Designed for infants, you had to have the smallest hands known to man. Yeah. And if you looked at it the wrong way, it snapped into a million bits. It was just...
Actually, I think probably the worst joystick I've ever used, or the worst controller, I should say, is you'll correct me on this, Dave, is for the 78,000. Is it the one, the joystick that came out for in the UK? It was it looked like a remote control with a big bloody joystick stuck on. And it's impossible to hold.
It had the two buttons at the side of the base.
Aye. It's a piece of shit.
It's called the Pro Controller, bizarrely.
Was it really?
And it was bizarre. It was, I don't know. It was kind of like a variant of the Sega Power Stick for the Master System, which looks like the most unusable joystick known to man as well.
Big rectangular thing you hold on to, yeah.
It looked like a gear stick.
Yeah.
How you were supposed to play a game with that, I don't know, but just hideous.
I mean, I think in America, did they not? Sorry, George. I think in America they brought the controller for the 7800. Was it not a kind of gamepad? It was more like the NES gamepad, I think. Yeah.
Aye, the ones I've got are the flat gamepads, and they're all right, but they're no very good quality, to be honest. They're not really comfortable to play with.
See the 7800 joypads. Can you take the thumbsticks off of them, or are they fixed on?
They're screw in, so it's got the cross pad. But you can screw in the thumbstick.
Right, so you can take them off and just play with a pad then, yeah?
Yes, yeah. But the whole thing's a little bit creaky. Push it too hard in frustration and I think you'll put your thumb right through it. It's, But
well, when I was...
you were going to...
Sorry.
Yeah, I would say the worst joystick I've ever experienced is any BBC Micro joystick.
That's true.
The kind of analog ones, the analog ones. Yeah.
Yeah, aye. The ones that don't self-center.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Nightmare.
I suppose that a lot of that stemmed from when these computers came out. They weren't really, gaming was, what do you call it? That was like secondary to what they were actually used for. I actually saw a wee clip. I don't know if, in fact, I'm kind of moving on to a subject here, but there was a computer program that used to be fronted by a chap called Ian McNaught Davis. It's called The Computer Program,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he was actually. I remember him. They were looking at the computers, and they said, "Yes, and this is running a game, but that's just a waste of a computer sort of thing." Like, if
I've
only
I've seen that clip. Yeah.
you know.
And he's
Well,
talking about. I think he's talking about sports games as well. He says, and these are the worst kinds of the games.
that's the one. That's the news. I think it was. So anyway, listen, we've kind of moved on naturally to my next thing. Computer programs. Did you watch any of the? And I'm not talking about the games shows. I'm actually talking about computer programs. Can any of you recall any computer programs that came out sort of back in the day? Dave, can you?
No,
It's gone off quiet there. I'm not putting you on the spot, Dave. Can you think of any?
I can't. I mean, I've seen them since. I went back and I think it was a computer show or something it was called, but I don't remember them back in the day.
Probably too young, actually. Eh?
Sorry.
You're probably too young. I've probably bloody put a rope for myself. I'm probably the only person old enough to remember them.
I got my Amstrad, my first computer. I got in 1985, and what was I, 6?
Yeah. I feel old now.
No,
How about yourself, George? You're about as old as me, mate.
Probably the one that the couple that I remember from when I was younger would be Making the Most of Your Micro.
Yeah.
That one went on for a while, and also there was another one where there was one episode where he basically they built up to it. So he says, right, okay, we're going to give you a game, and the game there'll be a black dot on your TV screen, and we'll give you instructions how to design this. You have to buy our magazine, and you'll design this device that connects to your Spectrum, and you'll put this sucker on the television, and you can load the game in from the flashing dot on your screen. It's like, no. Too much hassle. But I can't remember what TV program it was.
There's a couple.
Making the Most of Your Micros.
There's a couple I remember. I think the first one it was when the BBC gave the contract to Acorn for their computers for schools program, and they brought out this program called the Computer Program, and it was, what was the guy who used to be in That's Life? I can't remember his name. And this Ian McNaught Davis. And it was basically, I think, about 12 episodes, and it was just taking you through, computers. They kind of touched on games, etc. But as Ian said, it was kind of looked, kind of despised, games for the devil or whatever type thing. But that was the computer program, and then I think after that they brought out Making the Most of the Micro, which you're talking about, George. And then the one after that was called Micro Live, and it had the wonderful Fred, who used to be in Play School. I don't know if Fred Harris.
Yes,
Yeah.
I remember Fred.
Fred Harris, and also had Leslie Judd, who used to be on what was she on? Blue Peter.
Yeah.
That was about the only reason for watching it, to see Leslie Judd. But that was quite good. I mean, I didn't actually have a computer at that point, but that's when the whole computer thing started to kind of get rolling, and I used to sit glued to it, and I can always remember they were saying that there was this new computer, and it was going to be getting, it was a new computer coming out from Commodore, and they had this computer with a sheet over it, and you had to wait till the following week to see what it was, and I think it was the Amiga, was it 1000 or something? Was that was that the first one? I think
that was the first one. Aye.
Yeah.
I just couldn't mind there, Alan, what Leslie Judd looked like, so I just googled her.
She was quite hot.
And
It has to be said.
she was quite hot, but I googled the first picture that came up is her stroking her pussy on Blue Peter.
Selden.
That's the first picture that came up. I thought, all right, I know who it is now.
I'm probably aging myself here, but I remember her from the adventure game, which was kind of computer related.
I remember that.
Because it had BBC
plant.
Micros on it, didn't it?
The talking plant as well, eh?
And they had to get through a maze with a BBC Micro, and this little kind of furry robotic thing that had a kind of Brummy accent.
Do you know everything in that adventure show game was an anagram of the word dragon?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Seriously, is that right?
Yeah.
Because they used to have the uncle in it. I think the uncle kind of set the game show, and he was a plant. He was just as a plant, and they used to say "grunda grunda" and all that kind of stuff to him, which was an anagram of dragon.
And the money was called Drogna as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
And I think
right,
the actual race of people were called Argons. Again, dragon. Like you say, everything was
interesting,
just
I know
based
that.
around the word dragon. But just to go back to what you were saying about games shows, I used to watch Bad Influence.
Mm.
I don't know
Yeah.
if you used to watch that.
Violet Berlin and Andy Crane.
Yeah, I was trying to remember her name, Violet Berlin. Yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Was he not called the irritating Andy Crane?
I think he might have been, yeah.
I've got a few of them, and well, I think I've got the whole. I think there was like seven. No, in fact, there were 7 series of Games Master. There's about 3 or 4 series of Bad Influence, and I have to admit it's quite hard to actually watch. I can watch Games Master over and over again. I don't think that's dated as badly, but Bad Influence is pretty kind of dated badly. It's very much young little kids and that kind of stuff. Like,
It's very neon and in your face and trying to be hip and trendy, and it's just god awful.
yeah, and it used to rather than have like adults reviewing games, it was like 6-year-old kids reviewing them.
Aye.
Yeah, this is a really good game. It's got really nice graphics. I give it a 9 out of 10. Like, and it's always
kids
give it
want.
2 out of 10.
I remember as well.
What's that?
On a Saturday morning, there used to be a thing on ITV called Movies, Games, and Videos. And there was no presenters, but it was this used to show you clips of new releases and just a guy talking over it kind of thing. And this is getting really kind of obscure now, but on Sky a few years ago, maybe about 10 years ago, there was an Italian TV channel dedicated to video games. It was called Game Network. And it was Italian, but I think it was mostly in English. But I think in its kind of later day, it did revert to just nothing but Italian programs. But that was quite interesting as well.
I think I remember that.
Yeah. Again, just another hot chick on that as well. hot Italian chick.
So I mean, Games Master was obviously that was the one. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have watched any Games Master recently, like, but I can't believe the number of double entendres that Dominic Diamond manages to put into every single episode.
Some of the stuff that he says on those programs, you have no idea how he got away with that at all. I've watched some of it back on YouTube, and some bits have heard. I remember the. Sorry, go on, Alan.
No, I was going to say there's an interesting. I think it was one of my mates posted it. I'll actually put a link on our Facebook page. There was a podcast, I can't remember what the name of the podcast is, one of these retro sites anyway, and they actually interviewed Dominic Diamond about a year ago, and he basically says was that Channel 4, nobody at all from Channel 4 looked at what they were actually putting out. All they knew was that the ratings were going through the roof, so they were quite happy, he says. So it was basically, they were just firing as many, it was just like they just put as many double entendres as they could. And it got to the point that, like, when it came to guests, it's like, who do we fancy? Who can we get on? So they had your Sam Fox and your God knows whatever, like, But it's quite interesting. But nobody for Channel 4 apparently ever actually looked at what.
I mean, I've got a clip in mind, but does anyone have a favourite Games Master moment that they can think of?
I like a lot of it. I can't think of any one particular one.
Because there's one bit that's never left me, and it was there was a bit where I think it was talking about a game that had Robert De Niro doing a voice character, and Dominic Diamond's introducing the kind of news item, and he says blah blah blah, and this game is voiced by Robert De Niro. And here he is, and it's an interview with Bob De Niro, and it cuts to him, and he goes, "Bob, talk some pish." I think I must have spat my dinner out at that time.
I mean, the thing is, when you see him, the way I don't think he belittled kids and that kind of stuff, but some of the way, he'd speak to some of them, so I think you've not got a girlfriend, I didn't think so, and all that, I mean, he got away with murder, like, but you should re-watching it is absolutely brilliant. Fantastic. There was another game show, I don't know if anybody saw it. I never actually saw it at the time, because I couldn't afford Sky, but it was a Sky, it only came out in Sky, I think it was Sky One. It was called Games World. You should Google it. It's bloody awful. I think it was on actually every single day, but basically it was there was Tim Boone, who used to be one of the game master presenters. There was him, and I can't remember what the guy's name was. There was another guy who's a sort of a comedian type. There was the two of them, and then basically they had like they kind of handpicked. I think they had like Dave Perry, Dave Bandana, the Animal Perry. There was him, and there was like 3 or 4 other supremely good video game players, and they were all dressed up as different characters, and they basically brought out these little kids, and they had to kind of pick a number, and whatever number it was determined what sort of like character they played against, and they used to get absolutely thrashed. It was bloody abysmal, but wasn't a patch on Games Master. But so moving on for that, why do you think? I mean, considering, I've read many articles saying that apparently the games industry makes more money. It's something like ridiculous, like it makes 10 times the amount of money than Hollywood in the movie industry. Yet there's still no there's still no programs on the TV for games. Why is that, do you think?
Yeah, it's an odd one, isn't it? I think my opinion. Just taking a stab, I think YouTube's killed it.
Yeah.
Do you know it's kind of weird that I don't know if the current generation, everything's instantly available. So that you've got YouTube, you've got video clips, you've got magazines. You didn't need to read things. You just scan a QR code and it plays a trailer on your phone. Everything's instantly there. And kids now, my nephew sits and watches videos on YouTube of a guy playing Minecraft.
Yeah.
He sits and watches someone playing a game. What's that all about?
I think people do it. I think people do it just to either because they want to know how to play a game, or I must follow about 40 folk on YouTube, including Alan, Mainmeister. And the reason why I do it is there's games out there I've never heard of, and there's games I want to try and I want to play, and I think it's a great way of finding more about retro stuff or games or different consoles or different machines. And I think YouTube, I would say, might be wrong, but that's the main reason why there's not been a TV program out there that's kind of supporting that.
YouTube's kind of like the public access TV of old, isn't it?
It is, aye.
You can anything, so you can find your niche programs. The fact that there's channels now of retro stuff.
Yeah.
I think you're all right in YouTube, and you can review anything under the sun, games, consoles, anything you want. The only thing you can't review is anything with the word Nintendo in it.
Is that right?
Because I don't know if you've heard, there's several major retro channels have had all their videos taken down because of copyright infringement from Nintendo.
My word.
And so much so that one of them has actually decided not to have any more videos on YouTube. He's basically got his own website where he uploads his latest videos.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of Steve Benway's, in fact, 2 or 3 of Steve Benway's recent videos, he talks about even having the music, a Nintendo, see like a Nintendo game, the music playing in the background, Nintendo will complain about that, and YouTube have to take your video down. Even though you say, this is the best Nintendo game I've ever played, Super Mario, because you're playing the tune at the start, copyright infringement, take it down.
It's mad, isn't it?
It's bad.
Yeah. Just following on for that, George, yeah, you're absolutely right. I know Steve Benway. I've got my own little sort of YouTube thing, and I basically just play games for 10 minutes. It's a bit of a laugh. But apparently, where Nintendo start getting stroppy is, I don't know, when you become as a partner of YouTube, you can actually start making money, and I think it's when you start getting adverts on your videos. That's apparently they're only targeting people who are making money out of them, because as far as they're concerned, you're using their music to make money for yourself. Because when I make my wee videos, I have the music and everything playing. I don't give a toss. But he says as long as you're not making any money, they're not too interested.
But surely it's free advertising for them.
You would think so, eh?
Yeah, but then Nintendo makes some strange decisions nowadays. So who knows what they're thinking?
Nintendo are going backwards.
Mm.
They've not got their finger on the pulse of what kids want or what adults want in their gaming.
Nah, they've lost it.
They have. I think they're going the same way as Atari.
Atari and Sega,
Just about.
It's the dominant force, and then just now publishing crap on the iPhone.
Yep.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So what about yourself then, Dave? I mean, do you not do a lot of, sort of YouTube watching then?
Well, no, actually, I do. There's quite a few guys that I follow on YouTube. Just doing the kind of retro stuff. Or guys, there's one guy called Finn Gamer, who's a huge Nintendo fan, and he's actually amassed a complete collection of N64 games. But he's just a nice, cool guy. He just chats away, and he does pieces to camera and unboxes stuff and that. And I'm addicted to these kind of unboxing videos. I'm a sucker for that. It's possibly the saddest thing. It's like, for God's sake. But
So, how do you mean unboxing? Unboxing old retro machines or new retro
a bit of both
consoles?
The guy Finn Gamer will unbox. It's like here's a box of stuff I've got off of eBay, and he'll literally open the parcel and unbox it and look through all the stuff. So you're kind of getting that excited, getting a parcel. You're like, oh, it's great. What am I getting? But then he does. He writes for a magazine in Finland, and he gets a lot of sort of preview copies of stuff, and he buys a lot of these collector, the sort of $300 collector editions of Call of Duty that comes with a free soldier or something. You get all sorts of mad stuff, the night vision goggle and all that kind of stuff, huge boxes, and he'll unbox all that stuff and show you all the bits and bobs. He tears everything down. I don't know, I'm fascinated by that. It's probably no help.
I must admit, I do watch a lot of YouTube channels, but I mean, I tend to be quite sort of picky about who I watch. Steve Benway, I do watch a lot. I find him interesting to listen to. I think a lot. I mean, there's a billion people, playing video games and doing commentary. But I think one thing you kind of touched on, you need to be likable. You need to like the person you're watching, because there's just so many of these. I mean, there's a couple of them I kind of subscribe to, and you're sitting listening to them talking. You're like, this is boring, you know what I mean? But then George sent a link up on our Facebook page the other day there, which I think is really, really good. What's his name? Terry Stewart. He's from New Zealand, and he's basically got these real classic computer systems, and it's great just to actually be able to see them working. I mean, he has things like, is it the TRS 80, and he's got the PET, Commodore PET, he's got Ataris, he's got God knows what. And I think that one of the biggest things for YouTube is you could think of any game at all, I don't know, Forbidden Forest, Commodore 64, I want to watch a speedrun in that, type and I'll guarantee there'll be somebody playing that. So it's almost like video gaming on demand. It's just there.
Yeah.
So I think you're probably right. That's probably taking away a lot of, the sort of mainstream TV.
But I mean, YouTube's great because you do get all sorts of informational stuff that you wouldn't get on a, if it was a TV show, it would have to have a certain format, and there'd be all sorts of licensing issues and stuff that you don't have with YouTube. Well, a lot of the time, I know Nintendo are clamping down, but you don't have to pay anybody to get their products on your show or anything like that. And there's a guy, I don't know his second name. His name's John, but he's got a YouTube channel called John's Arcade. He's an American guy, and he's got a fantastic arcade in his basement, as most Americans seem to have somehow. And he's got like 50 or 60 arcade machines, but he takes them and he'll show you round the arcade, and he'll say, "Oh, this one's not working. Come on, we'll take it to the garage and strip it down and find out what's wrong with it and replace bits." And it shows you how to fix up arcade machines. And I find all that kind of stuff fascinating. He's in about it with soldering irons and all sorts of things, and it's great. I mean, you wouldn't in a million years imagine pitching that to the BBC. I want to film a show in my garage that shows me stripping a 40-year-old arcade cabinet, soldering it back together.
Look, even taking it to extremes, can you imagine going to a producer of the BBC saying, "I've got this brilliant idea for a game show, for a TV programme. Basically, I'm going to buy something at Argos and I'm going to take it out of its box and I'll go, what's the idea behind it? That's it. I'm going to unbox it." Nobody's going to buy into that.
4 million
Forbidden
subscribers.
Forest on the Commodore 64 for 4 hours.
But I mean, I draw the line that watching folk unboxing Lego.
Aye.
Unless, of course, there's another he's super popular, is what's he called? Stuart Ashens. It was you, George, that first put me onto Ashens. I don't know. Are you guys, Ian and Dave, do you know Ashens?
No.
Well, honestly, type in Ashens. he's got about, I don't know, he's mega popular. He's an English guy. He's kind of part actor type thing. But basically, the whole premise is of his videos. He's got this brown suite, and all you can see, he's got the camera pointing at the suite, and you see his hands. And he's kind of the two things that he does is people will send him stuff. He basically opens up stuff out of Poundland, Lego and sweets and that, and then people from abroad will send him stuff like Poundland and Dollarland, whatever it is. And then another favourite one that he has is people will send him old food. Like there was somebody somebody sent him, what the hell was it? It was like a
25-year-old cereal and stuff like that.
Aye, like a 30-year-old tin of like beans, and he'll open it up and he'll have a couple of beans. He just opens up. He does. He's really mad. I suppose technically it's unboxings that he does, but it's really mental stuff. He's the guy. He's so funny. He's just got this he's entertaining, absolutely brilliant. That's why he's got so many subscribers. But Ashens, it's Ashens. Have a look at him. He's so funny. It's the kind of thing you can actually sit one night and just watch video after video because he's so entertaining. So, yeah, listen, guys, probably the last one I just want to talk about is Kickstarter. Have any of you guys sort of partaken in Kickstarter at all? What's your thoughts on these Kickstarter projects? George, have you any thoughts on?
I was tempted for the Bedrooms to Billionaires one? I know that some of the guys in the Retro Club have invested in that, and they'll get copies of the DVD before it comes out and bits and pieces, which is great, I think. But recently, I don't know if you heard the news about
Elite, was it?
Elite, yeah. The guys that have got now own Elite, they're selling they're selling developers games on the iPad and the iPhone and things like that, and Android. And these games they were meant to be given
sort of
royalties to,
right.
and they haven't been. So I think about 9 or 10 of these software game designers have been getting together to try and claw their money back off them.
I think was it not going to be Elite? In fact, I think you first linked it, George. They were supposed to be bringing out some, was it Spectrum keyboard or something? Which
Bluetooth keyboard, aye.
Yeah, and I think because it's now come out that they've not been paying royalties to any of these people. They've been basically publishing their games in apps. And not giving them any money for it. So I think everybody's kind of now cottoned on it, and so apparently from like maybe making a £20 pledge, people's just going like they're only pledging £1 sort of thing. So I don't know what's happened with that, but I think that thing's now fallen on its face.
Yep.
But the only thing I've taken part in is this I call it Bedroom to Billions, whatever the hell it's called. Bedroom to Broomsticks, I don't know what it's called. Personally, I'm getting really pissed off with it because it was announced about, I don't know, a year and a half ago, and it was supposed to be coming out in April 2013, and it's delayed, and it's still going on and on and on and on and on. It's like, just bloody give us it now, It's
so what's the total at, Alan?
I couldn't.
Have they made their money?
Oh Christ, aye, they made their money ages ago. But what they're kind of now doing, they're now starting to get greedy because they're now bringing out like is it Rob Hubbard and is it Ben Douglas? They're like written some bits of music, and they're now saying, oh, for an extra £20 you can get the special DVD with the audio CD extra edition type thing. So they're now trying to milk it for even more money, which is a bit worrying.
Do you know they were filming at the NERG event last year down in Newcastle?
Nah.
They were down there filming for that DVD for the film.
Right.
They were interviewing folk at it, so God knows.
They're still doing bits. I backed it as well. I backed the original kind of campaign, and then they had their extended goals where you could pledge another £20 to get the sort of extended edition with 6 hours of extra interviews and all that kind of stuff. So I'm £45 invested into it.
That's a lot of money
for a DVD that I've not seen yet. I've seen a couple of clips, but there's not been anything. But they're now also they've appealed to the community for people to do like ZX Spectrum type-ins and stuff like that and screen capture it so that will be in the film. Because they keep on coming up with ideas of stuff that they want to be in the film, but it's like, just make it already, make a second one, make a sequel. Because like that, like you say, Alan, it was about 2 years ago, and I thought that'd be fantastic. I'd just King of Kong, and I thought I want more of this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm getting a wee bit fed up. It's a bit long in the tooth, and they take quite a while to reply to any emails and all that kind of stuff.
And
Is there
sorry.
is there a forum linked to these Kickstarter, like on the main website, where folk are complaining about it?
On the actual Kickstarter website, you can go into the Kickstarter project essentially, and there are forums linked to each project. And they also have the From Bedrooms to Billions Facebook page where people have been commenting both positive and negative, just about the amount of time. And they have apologised a few times about how long it's taken. But I think even now, I'm a
They're very vague, aren't they? They're very vague. They'll not commit to a date.
Exactly. Aye, it's getting a wee bit long.
You only shine something so many times, I think.
Can you get your money back off these things if it doesn't, or is it once you invest, is it sealed, deal sealed?
I think you could probably fight and try and get your money back, but there's bound to be a clause somewhere that when you invest, then that's you.
Yeah.
So what happens? Tell me then, this Dave. What happens if I don't think it's going to happen in the case of this because they've obviously got a lot of video. What would happen if they announce, "Sorry guys, we're not doing it anymore"? Have they basically got their money? Have they got their money?
No, if they cancel the project, they have to pay back the money.
Or do they?
Aye, I know that much. If a project is not funded, even if it's a $5 short or something like that, if it's not funded, then they don't take money out your account. The payment doesn't go through. Basically, it's only if a project's funded that they actually take it out your account. But if then the project's cancelled or falls through, then you get a refund. At that point, they give you your money back, sort of thing.
I think the one I'm looking forward to is the Elite Dangerous Kickstarter game for the PC.
Backed that, and I don't know how much he put into it, but he's backed that, and I'm pretty sure he's got his name as one of the commanders.
Has he?
He loves Elite, and he's I'm kind of ashamed to say that I've never actually played Elite. I know.
Have you not?
I know what it's about, but I was more a kind of running, shooting people in the face kind of thing, as opposed to flying about being a pirate.
I mean, it can work out. I mean, the likes of, when I first got Minecraft, it wasn't even beta; it was alpha, and I think that was a Kickstarter as well, if I'm right.
Right.
I think it maybe was a Kickstarter for Mojang. And it's been really successful now. It's on just about every platform you can get. So it can work out good for these small companies.
There's a couple. I've backed a few things. I backed the From Bedrooms to Billions. I've backed the Wings remastered on iPhone. The Amiga game Wings.
Oh, aye. Is that the
right.
vertically horizontal shoot 'em up?
It's
biplane thing. Yeah.
That was Wings of Fury, I think it was called. Wings is it's a sort of World War I biplane first-person flight sim shooty dogfighty thing.
Right.
You could also do bombing missions and stuff like that, and it was good fun. And they announced, that they were doing a remastered edition, and I think it was $10 or something like that, and you got a digital copy of it. But they were doing, as they all seem to do, if this is funded, we'll do stretch goals or whatever it is they call it. And the promise was that if they hit their stretch goals, which I've now moved about 12 times, but if they hit their stretch, that they would publish a boxed Amiga version of it. And I'm like, that would be sweet. Imagine a brand new boxed Amiga game. That would be fantastic. As such, the goals have moved that many times that they're now doing orchestral soundtracks and like that. You get the soundtrack, this USB stick and a T-shirt and box of sweeties or something. I don't know, but it's getting a bit long in the tooth, and like that, it's I've not seen anything for it, and that was about 6 months ago. A couple of updates.
So they've just announced a Kickstarter for Flappy Birds.
To do what? Bring it back?
But I think it's coming back anyway.
Yeah.
I'm spending lots of money not to bring that out.
So what you're saying then, Dave, if you don't actually make the thing, you've got to give their money back?
Yes, if the project doesn't go through, then...
I was going to come up with a thing called the Comstrom. It's actually it's a Commodore 64 Spectrum, and I was going to ask you guys for a 20 quid each bit. I think that could catch on.
much do you want, Alan?
What have you got, mate?
But a Comstrut. That thing would probably sell like bloody hotcakes.
But it was not one when we first started the Edinburgh Retro PC Club. Remember there was a I think it was a Kickstarter. It was to open this big massive arcade in Edinburgh. And you had to pay like £20 a month and all this nonsense. It was absolute nonsense. I mean, they were like for £1,000 you were getting invited along to the opening night, and you could bring your pals along, but you still had to actually pay money. And I was glad to see. I think their target was some like I don't know £60,000, and I think it only got about £500 or something. It was,
I was really excited about that because I met those guys when I was standing in the queue for Replay in Manchester.
Did you really? Yeah.
Aye, and they were handing out their flyers, and I'm like, oh, new arcade, and I thought this will be in London or something. And I went up, grabbed the guy, and he says, no, it's in Edinburgh. I'm like, all right, okay, you've got my interest. And, it sounded really promising, and I followed them, and I was all excited and all that kind of stuff. And then I noticed that the guys were posting up comments and stuff saying, what do you think of this? And it was a link to eBay for, they were buying their machines off of eBay. Like, what are you doing? A business model where you're buying your machines off of eBay, and they were going to get a prime location in Edinburgh. They were looking at opening an arcade in Princess Street.
Aye.
I mean, what? What are you thinking? It's just
where rents are lowest.
Aye, it's going to be exclusive art and all that kind of stuff, and completely missed the point of what anything's about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you just wouldn't buy, if you were opening a business, you wouldn't buy your machines off of eBay. You'd go to Clove.com or Jamma Plus or something like that, one of the forums, and get the guys involved. But, it's just, that was kind of, I was so disappointed because I thought it would be great to have, because there's a few arcades down in England, in various places, and it would just be great to have one up here, but that's just not going to happen.
You can just imagine the guy saying, "Oh, can I have a shot of your Rolling Thunder, mate?" Oh, we didn't. There wasn't a power pack included, mate. You can't.
Aye, that's it.
Still looking for one in Gumtree.
The screen's upside down and it's got green bag. I don't know, some rubbish in it, but
I don't know. Some of these Kickstarter things, I don't. I mean, I kind of know I know the basis of it. It allows people who don't have any money to sort of, if there's enough interest, get together the funds to make something actually happen. But what kind of surprises me is there's people who, for all intents and purposes, are quite well off, like Peter Molyneux. He brought out one recently. Then there was what do you call him? He made Dizzy, the Thingy Brothers.
Is that the
He
Darling
never
Brothers?
wanted money to bring out a new Dizzy. He's like, well, you're not going to your own bank and lift money.
But no one ever stopped to think, does anybody actually want a new Dizzy game? Because the Dizzy games, I mean, let's be honest here, weren't that good, were they?
Oh, you've just alienated about half our audience here with that sweeping comment.
I was never a fan. I loved some of the early Codemaster stuff, but I wasn't really a kind of adventure-y. Like I say, I'm a runabout shooting people in the face. So, an adventuring egg wasn't really my pay back in the day. But
this is just runabout dying kind of game, isn't it? Because you just anything you touch, you just die instantly, and you can't get past the kind of first couple of screens, then you just switch it off.
Perseverance.
But anyway, guys, listen, I think we'll probably need to wrap this up. I think we've been waffling on long enough. So I hope everybody's enjoyed listening to this podcast number 4. We'll be back in the usual time in 2 weeks' time. And I think Club Night, George, what day is it? Is it the 12th of April,
I think Ian's booked it for the 16th. Is that right?
I think that's right. It was the 16th.
16th of March.
Yeah.
What to do, guys, is just check our Facebook page, and we'll have. I think the actual club night's been announced already, but we'll maybe put another follow up to that anyway. And I says it's 7:30 till 10:30 at Gorgie Parish Church, which is next to Heart of Midlothian Football Ground. Everybody's welcome. The first night is free, so come along and see what all the fuss is about. And thanks for listening, guys, and I'll speak to you guys soon. Okay, guys, take care now. See ya. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.